I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and for the past 14 days I've been using the Moto X as one of my personal devices as part of a 30-day challenge with Motorola's flagship device. In the Day 14 update video, we're talking about how this device fares in comparison to two other high-end devices on the market, the Galaxy S4 and the HTC One. 14 days have passed since I started using the Moto X as my personal device as part of this 30-day challenge, and the Moto X is kicking along. I really enjoy a lot of things about this device that I've talked about in previous videos. The build quality is quite good. It's easy to hold in the hand. I like this little Motorola logo too because it's easy to put an index finger there and talk for long periods of time. The curved nature of this device makes it conducive to phone calls. There's a lot to like, but when you look at it from a specifications perspective, there's arguably a difference between this device and some of the other high-end devices on all the carriers that are also available for the same price point. So in the Day 14 update, we're talking about the Moto X in comparison to the HTC One and to the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now there are a lot of differences, and honestly it would take 3 or 5 videos to update you with all the differences on the Moto X versus the HTC One and versus the Galaxy S4, but I'll talk to you about some of the things that I've found so far in working with the Moto X for 2 weeks. One for me, and I do this one on a pretty regular basis, galleries. I find myself often taking images, so snap a couple of pictures here. We'll kick it over into the gallery, and you can see my pictures that I've taken. So we'll go into gallery here on the Moto X. Boom, there are the camera images right there. Well, I'm the type of person that takes a lot of pictures and stores them in albums. So for me, for example, on my personal device that I usually carry, I don't do this often on the 30-day challenges, but I use, a Hawaii album. I have an album for, pictures we've taken around the house. I have an album of people in the family, etc., etc. Can't do that over here out of the box on the Moto X. And yes, I know there are alternatives that you can do, and obviously there are workarounds to this, but I'm saying right here out of the box on this device, there is no option to add an album. So I can select an album, and then I can move it around, find the details about it, things like that. But I can't select an album. Now juxtapose that to the HTC One here, for example, and this is one of the big things that I find myself missing. I'll go in here to the album, go to the gallery rather, and I'll go down through here, and you can see all my different camera shots, highlights, Dropbox, Facebook, and more. I did this as a test just before I started the video high. So I can go back, for example, go to camera shots, click on one of these, and I can say, you know what, we'll move it to, and we'll go to a new album, we'll call it, new album, call it Yo, if I can spell Yo, and move that picture right over there to that new album. So I use these on a pretty regular basis, find that to be pretty useful all around, and I miss that on the Moto X. I also miss that, obviously, I should point out you can do that on the Galaxy S4 as well, just to give you a quick comparison here. We'll go into the gallery and you can see the one I set up, new folder, but I can come in here, for example, and say hey or hi, and I can drag a picture over to that album and click done, all from the device itself without any sort of changes or third party. I can do it on device as opposed to using other alternatives. So nice to have those albums right there. Not saying you can't do it on the Moto X, but at least out of the box, it's not there in the software. So that's one thing I miss. I also miss the camera stuff. Just out of the box, I take quite a few pictures, and you can see here 4 ultra-pixel camera, 13 megapixel camera on these devices. Both take great pictures, and not just that, they have a ton of things that make them really useful. For example, HTC Zoe over here on the HTC One, absolutely love it. Use it on a regular basis. I've got my Zoe option right here. I can take Zoes and take stills and combine those together in a Zoe highlight reel throughout the day. So if I'm at a wedding, at a friend's party, whatever the case may be, I can do those, take a bunch of pictures, and have this combined video. Over here, you've got a ton of different modes in the camera. We'll go into camera so you can see what I'm talking about. We'll go into mode. You've got auto, beauty, face, best photo, sound and shot, drama, animated photo, and then you have the ability to use front-facing camera right there, but then we'll bring this over here so you can see it a little bit more up close and personal. Bring this down and zoom in or increase the size, and you can use the front and rear facing camera at the same time to take a picture. Now some of you may argue that that's gimmicky. I like those features. I use them on a pretty regular basis. I go on vacation with the Galaxy S4 from time to time and use it. Even on the weekends, I'll use the front and rear facing camera simultaneously. I think that's a pretty cool feature, and I find myself missing that on the Motorola X. And when you look at it from a price point standpoint, these are all around $199. They're all considered high-end devices. They're all around $199. So I think it's important to point out what you're missing by going with the Moto X, or some of the differences between the Moto X's features and the features on the Galaxy S4 and on the HTC One. Not to mention build quality is slightly different here. You've got the curved back, but a little more of a polycarbonate look and feel as opposed to the metal here on the HTC One. And then here's how the Samsung Galaxy S4 feels. Now another one for me, I've told you this quite a few times in videos, and this is very much a personal thing, so don't take this as a reviewer type opinion or a reviewer type comment. Take this as a very personal comment coming from me using this as my personal device. 5 inches for me is the perfect sweet spot. So at 4.7 inches, this is a little bit on the small side from a display perspective. I don't like the 6.44 inch display of the Xperia Z Ultra. What I do like though, I think 5 inches is a great sweet spot, and I find the size of this display to be really nice versus 4.7 inches, which is what comes on the Moto X and on the HTC One. Just throwing a couple of alternatives out there. In the next video, we'll talk about what makes this great in comparison to those devices, and we'll move on in our 30-day challenge. In the meantime, I want to hear from you. I'm on Twitter at phonedog_Aaron. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/HiAaronBaker. Let me know what you want to see covered in the next video update of the Moto X 30-day challenge, and I'll do my best to get it in a video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next update in this 30-day challenge with the Moto X.